Hello. This is another update for that two-dimensional software rendered physics engine I was working on. I'll just show you all the progress. So now we have these UI windows. Let me step into the snapshot system real quick. So last time you saw these buttons I could click on. I could step forward or backward in the snapshot, but I've added a bit more functionality since then. You can right-click them and do more coarse jump. You can also scroll with a little scroll wheel. So I'll just explain the dots real quick. So in the bottom left corner, this is our world space. You can see all these lines bounding these shapes inside of them. And you can see we have the capsule and the circle. We're not running physics right now. We're stalled at a specific snapshot in time. And so between all the shapes, you see these little white circles, these little white dots, and these red dots. The white dots are the closest potential intersection between any set of shapes, but they're not intersecting. When they do intersect, you see a little red dot. And so we can actually click on those when we're in the snapshot playback state. And I'll click on one, and it opens up these little windows that show you everything about that little contact. Like you see the entity index in the huge memory array I make for the entities. So the index for the circle is 0, but we're testing against a static piece of geometry, so I just set -1 for that. And so you can see the contact type, it's a circle versus a line. You can see the contact is happening at x15, y of 0.9. The snapshot is at 219, the 219th snapshot that we've taken. And you can see the velocities between them, the relative velocity to resolve the contact, everything about the data. So we can just resume playback, and I'll drop the capsule on top of the circle, and you can see it explodes. And so we'll resume the playback, we'll resume the snapshot state, and I'm scrolling through it so that we can get to the point where I pick up the capsule and then I drop it on the circle, and in this frame is exactly where that contact happens. And unfortunately, the way that I set it up, I only take a snapshot after the incorrect relative velocity has already been applied. In this case, you can see that it's 40. And so we're applying a huge force onto these objects unrealistically, and it makes them shoot apart. That shouldn't be how it works, right? So I can click on this contact, and you can see it's the capsule circle contact. It's happening at this position in space. The entities have these velocities relative to each other, and then we calculate the total relative velocity down here, and it's way too big. It's -10x, 40y. We don't want to apply a force that massive. And I suspect it's because of the way that we calculate the signs when determining the relative velocity and applying it onto the entities. And we'll get there. There's another thing called the iteration that happens in a physics engine, where every single frame you want to iterate over the contacts multiple times to achieve stability. And I have these little buttons right here, and I can scroll through them, and you can see the forces that we apply at every step of the iteration over just one single frame. And the end goal for this is just to plug it back into Desmos to manually verify all the values are correct. So you can see I have the capsule versus the circle here. Of course, this angle is different because I was testing on a different snapshot earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this data that I print out, and I'm going to shove it into Desmos to verify the math and to determine exactly how the relative velocity calculation is incorrect. And it's going to take a long time, but I already paid a massive upfront cost and all this UI tooling in the first place just to visualize all this incredibly useful data, because every single frame, the positions and the velocities of the entities depend on the previous frame or the previous step of the iteration. And so it behooves me massively to, as I go through even a single time step, to record every single piece of data from every single iteration so I know exactly what an entity's velocity, position, angle is at any point in time, just for more debugging. So it's going to take a bit longer, but this is a very useful system to have. It's the second immediate mode UI system that I've written. Very useful. You can see that, of course, we're chugging because we're drawing all these pixels every frame, but you can see that when I mouse over it, I'm only drawing, if you look past the text into the window behind it, if you can even see at a resolution like this on YouTube, you'll see that I'm drawing only every 4th or 8th pixel. If I was drawing every single pixel with alpha blending, I would start chugging and hit maybe 5 frames per second. So I just cleaning it up a little bit, sparsely dotting the little pixels for the background UI windows just to save on performance and to make it look a little clean. So that's the UI system. That's the debug snapshot system. It's going to be another week or two before I actually solve the impulse mechanics between two bodies. But as soon as I have that, progress should hopefully go a little bit faster. So that's what I've been working on. It's been a lot of work, but hopefully it'll pay off soon. Thanks for watching. See you later.